All right. If you're watching on YouTube, we're just going to do a sound test really quick. Make sure that we can be heard there. Okay. Think too. So there's a little bit always a delay between the Zoom and YouTube. So, all right. There we go. And we do have the audio on our YouTube, so it's good to know. And we will be starting in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys, just so that y'all can see some of the stuff that we have on. Slider works there. There we go. I hear you now. Get the link for YouTube, James?
Yeah, I'm posting it right now.
Post onto our Facebook.
All right, thanks. Everybody's left.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Jim. How you doing?
I'm good. I don't know why my video isn't connecting though.
Huh. Let me see if I can ask you to start it and maybe it'll click on. I don't know if you get the message.
Yep, I see the message and somehow that worked. Cool.
Sometimes it does. I don't know why. It's one of those weird things.
Nice.
No. So yeah. Hey, so did you get my text about next month's topic?
I did, and I didn't really get a chance to think about it. I didn't know that one was a good one for what we're doing. But that's why I was thinking maybe I should ask you what your thoughts were on it. Why you felt it might be a good one.
Well, just because it was, we're coming in, it'll be March, and I kind of figure those would be the time of year that people would probably be getting the mini sessions or during the springtime with,
Mm,
engagement photos, and they're not really the full, portraits or the wedding ones just yet.
yeah,
And I was going to ask you if you wanted to explain mini session
sure.
too, and maybe, so I didn't know if that was a good topic
Yeah.
for.
So that's a good angle. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Hey, is
Yeah.
that the incredible Jim Landers there?
I don't know what happened to that guy. He
Hey.
shows up when he feels like it.
Yeah, he's showing up today on my screen at least.
Oh man.
Are you nice and warm
I'm
and cozy
actually
where
here
you're
at
at?
Final Works now, so
What's that?
I'm actually here at Final Works.
Oh,
now,
are you?
Even though I'm not with my screen background, because I'm in a small room to the side here.
Gotcha.
Let me just put my volume up so I can hear you a little better.
James, I thought you said something about you were going to make a change here.
Yeah, I just hadn't decided when. Kind of like, I was like, just when I'm about to, I was like, I'll wait a little longer.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
So you've been home all day, or have you been out?
Nope. I had an appointment that was scheduled for this morning, but I canceled it a couple days ago when I realized that the weather wouldn't be ideal for that. It was going to be an outdoor private photography class.
Mm.
So outdoors, 10 o'clock this morning, probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
And I've seen news reports just from around, I guess it's going to be the Midwest here of the United States. There's a lot of power outages going on. So don't know what kind of thing we're going to have with so many parts of the country with outages and stuff like that. But like I said, the great thing about this is always, and we get a lot of questions right after we finish if these are available to view, and they're on our YouTube, and I kind of cut out our intro section there so that way I can start right up, right when you start giving your presentation. So those are all kind of set up on YouTube for immediate viewing right after we're finished.
Yeah, right now, probably the biggest problem some people are going to face in certain parts of the country is the transit delays. We're always getting notifications from FedEx and UPS about transit delays just because due to weather conditions. So that might delay some orders by a day or so. Here we had UPS, USPS, DHL, and who's the other? Well, we had those are our three main carriers, but they all came early today because of icy conditions on the road here in San Antonio.
Damn.
So a lot of orders that normally would have gone out today couldn't go out today because they were the shipping services came too early.
That's interesting.
We got a few people popping up here in our Zoom waiting room. Carol and Sabrina. Oh, you should have had some of your people pop on today. Jim, seeing how y'all couldn't have your class, get your get your hello pics on. Yeah, so we'll start in about a few minutes right now. Got 7 minutes. James, did you want to mention the 30% off dye bond sale going on?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, finerworks.com, you'll see up at the top 30% off dye bond metal prints. Dye bond is a type of aluminum composite for those that are never have heard of it before. It's popular. You see it primarily in the display and signage industry, not for your typical for sale sign type signs, but where you'll see like more kind of higher end interior signage, maybe in like clothing stores and so forth. And we print directly to it. It makes a beautiful piece to hang on the wall unframed. And it's if you go to the dye bond section of our website, it kind of shows you exactly what dye bond is. But again, it's an aluminum composite with like a plastic core, so it's relatively lightweight, and it's a great alternative option for printing your artwork in photography. And there is even the ability to have a texturized print as well. And we have some information on our blog about that and some example photos that I think was showing everyone on screen. So yeah, that's 30% off through Saturday. Ends at midnight on Saturday. So yeah, take advantage of that while you can.
I really liked it. I used it recently for a 40 by 46 print, and I did an old black and white family photo onto it, and it turned out amazing. And I had so many compliments on it because it was a black and white old photo. It kind of gave that feel of the silver plate photography to it, and I think a lot of people really like that. Things I wasn't expecting to show up on the print, that showed up on the print, the details like that made it such a nice print. Well, we are about 5 minutes out. Can I go ahead and let people in and take off the room here? Go ahead and enable that and admit. We have Sabrina who's joining us. If a viewer there on YouTube. And if you're viewing on YouTube, just go ahead and use that live chat. And if you have any questions, I will pass those over to Jim. And if you're joining us on Zoom, like Sabrina is here, just go ahead and mute your mic. You can use that chat box feature down at the bottom. And same thing, we can pass the question over to Jim. So I'll let Sabrina get logged on. There you go. So yes, hi, welcome Sabrina. If you want to, you can keep your mic on mute. And if you have any questions, just use that little chat button down at the bottom on Zoom. Okay. And then Jim, I will go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Got our dye bond sale there.
Hey, buddy.
I love it. He's got his own TikTok, right?
He does. Adventures with Gray.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
bud. What are you doing? Oh, thank you for those kisses.
There's your co-host.
Thank you, buddy. You just give me some love before I get started.
Yeah, he's better than Ed McMahon there. Nice co-host. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here, and I'm going to give you host. Did you have a handout for this one that you want to put in the chat? And I will.
Yeah, let me send that to you. Let's see.
Make you host.
Zoom chat. buddy. Thank you. You're so sweet. Okay, I got
See
it.
himself on
I
camera.
got it.
too.
Hey, stop. Hey, he just grabbed my hand. Hey, great. Cut it out, buddy. He's great. You can't do that right now. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So there we go.
Opening up our chat here.
All right. So I just sent that PDF handout over to you, Melissa.
All right, and I will go ahead and I'll get that loaded up onto our YouTube as well. And if
Cool.
you want to put yourself on, just for the YouTube thing, if you want to go ahead and put it speaker view or pin yourself. I don't know if you can. Let's see.
How's that?
That's perfect. That way you, when you're sharing your screen and stuff like that, it'll take up the full screen.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm gonna get that set up.
All right. Can I take it away, or do you have something else you
Yeah,
wanted to
take
do?
it away, Jim.
Yay. Hey, thank you guys, and welcome to the February episode of the show that we have today, the Photo Tips Monthly. Thank you to Finer Works for making things like this happen, to uplift the photography community, to do things that help us become better at what it is that we do. So thank you, James, and thank you, Melissa, for all the effort that you put in. That's way over and above what a lab is, stereotypically what they do. You guys do a whole lot more than that to make things better for us as artists, as creators. So I guess I'm speaking for a lot of people. Thank you for all that you do.
Most welcome.
Well, today we're talking about marketing yourself, and this is something I know is. We all feel it's important, but to what extent, and how much time do we spend with it, and what is it that we're supposed to do? We only have about an hour and a half to talk about, so we're not going to cover every single thing there is to cover on marketing, but we're going to surface level several different things. And I'm going to want you to, every single piece that we go through, to consider it a homework assignment, where you're actually writing down the things that you need to do, that you feel are going to benefit your goals, the things that you want for your work, for your future, for your business, whatever it is you want. Consider all the things that we're talking about today homework assignments. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's make sure I have up the right one. There we go. I'm going to share parts of this. Now, for those of you who the PDF I have shared with Melissa, and so you guys can download that. If you want to follow that, you don't have to, but it's available should you want to do that. All right, that's not shared yet.
I'm going to share it one more time because we had somebody new come into the room.
Oh, good. Thank you. There it is. And Melissa, does that size look good?
Yes.
Or should I make it bigger?
If you want to, you can. You have room to do that, but you're pretty good right there.
Yeah, nice. Marketing your business. All right, so here's a quick summary, and you can read this for yourself. I'm going to read it to you. I believe that you should be known for something, because it's easier to market when you do such a thing. We artists, if we say that we're a multi-tool, like in a tool store, that makes it confusing, especially for photographers. Now, I know at different mediums that does change. Maybe your subject is similar, but you're using different mediums in order to accomplish that goal. But I think, especially for photographers, we should narrow down what it is we do. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but two main ones. One, it makes it easier for someone else to know what it is you do. So you're choosing the thing that you like the best, that gets you the most excitement. It doesn't mean you say no to everything else. It could, but it doesn't. That alone doesn't mean that. So we're choosing a niche. Now, I do believe we need to use social media. We have to have a long-term commitment. We do have to have some patience. That doesn't mean we wait around, though. Branding is important. Customer focused or client focused, I like to call it. Identifying your target market, showing who you are, keeping it simple, quality, relationships, automation, database, tracking your results, tweaking as needed. These are some general words that you've heard a million times before, and we're going to touch on some of them today. So first, choose a niche. Now, you may call that a niche, whichever you call it. It's choosing one thing or something, a group of things that are very similar to each other. And this, what you see right immediately under that, it says, yes, choose one, not 27, like most photographers do. Now, the reason I gave you that number 27, there's a real specific reason for it. Several years ago, I did what lots of photographers do, and I continue to do it today, visit photographer websites. This particular photographer described what they do in a way that made me, well, chuckle, just like I just did. She said, I specialize in, and I counted 27 things that she has the ability to press the button in front of. So we as creatives, we kind of create our own definitions sometimes. And when it comes to choosing a specialty, I guess that means everything you have the ability to press the button in front of. That's not how I define it, though, and it makes it impossible. I mentioned a moment ago that it makes it easy for someone to understand and be able to share who you are when it's just one thing you do. But it also is a marketing thing, because I can market one thing. I can put all my time and effort into that one thing and get a whole lot done. But if I have to spread that out over several different things, I have the ability to press the shutter button in front of, then I'm thinning myself out. I'm thinning out my marketing time, my marketing message, and I don't have a budget for all that stuff. I barely have a budget to do a good job with one thing. So if I see you guys saying I can do 27 different things, do you really have a budget for all that? Do you have time for all that? Because if you've got time for all that, you've got a class I want to take. It's called time bending. I don't know how to do it, but I want to take your class because I don't have time for that much stuff. Apparently you do. Can I take your time bending class? Reach out to me, jim@landersphotoschool.com. I'm interested in a time bending class. So if you don't reach out to me for that reason, then listen to the next thing I'm about to tell you. You've got to be known for something. Not everything, something. So I understand you've got more than one thing that you could press the shutter in front of. That makes sense. But I have this list on this sheet just right under here that I want you to circle the things that you want to do or are doing or give you some amount of joy in your life. Circle the things that you want to do. Let's read through these real quick. By the way, I don't want you to edit this yet. I just want you to circle the things that you enjoy doing, that you want to do or you are already doing. You can go crazy by choosing this stuff for now because we have a second part of this assignment. But right now, the number doesn't matter. But general portraiture, if you do portraiture, you may be doing on location portraits. Maybe you're doing in studio portraits. Maybe you're doing both. Circle them both. And bridal, engagement, executive portraits, staff portraits, animal portraits. I mean, people like having a dog photographed. Family portraits, children's portraits, glamour, models, fashion, schools, sports teams. What about event photography? Do you enjoy action, sports, weddings, debuts, or quinceañeras, group portraits, couples and individuals, banquets, conventions, special events, business events, charity events, concerts, PR? How about commercial work? Architectural, maybe 360-degree virtual tours or some other type of virtual tours. Maybe you have a drone or have someone who you work with who does that kind of work. Tabletop work, small items, large products, catalog photography, public relations and publicity, corporate, general corporate photography, postcards, brochures, catalog sheets, photo. There's a lot of things that you can do. Editorial, aerial, food. How about artistic photo illustration? I mean, taking a photograph, creating a fantasy version of it, maybe black and white, maybe only black and white. Fine art, bodyscapes, landscapes. How about just wildlife, architecture, art, environmental, forensic, high speed, historical? You get the picture. Circle the things that you enjoy, that are fun, that you're either doing already or you want to do. Circle them. And that's your first part of that assignment. The second part of that assignment, though, now that you've got that list of circled things that you enjoy, I want you to go back through the ones that you circled and put stars next to your top 7, and then write them down here. Now, if you don't have the handout, then just write it down on a piece of paper. Go through that list. Maybe you have something that's not on the list. That's fine. I just threw a bunch of them out there that crossed my mind when I was writing this. So just go through, circle the ones you want at first, and then choose your top 7 out of that list. Now, let's say you're having a hard time with that. How many months ago was it that we did the choose your niche? This basically is that. If you're having a hard time with that, then put it this way. And I said that then, but not all of you, of course, would have heard that. If you were to make a list of all the things you want on a piece of paper, and then cut each one of them out so that each one of them was on a strip of paper, and you had several different strips, you crumple each one of them up individually, you put them in a bowl, and I get to pull one out that you are never, ever going to ever be able to do. But before I do that, I let you have a safe one. You pull one out on your own before I have a chance to pull out the one I'm going to choose that you don't get to ever do again. Pull out one. Guess what? That one you pulled out, it's probably your niche. Most of the time it is. It isn't always. I have come across instances where there were reasons why someone chose a different one, but most of the time, that's it. So if you're having difficulty, there's one way to think about it. But you're listing your 7 here, but then you star the one you can't live without. 2 different ways of doing that same thing. By the way, if you've got more than 1 star, you've got 2 or 3 things that are very similar, that's fine. There's some things that don't mix well, so you need really 2 separate entities, 2 separate companies, so that the marketing didn't overlap. If you have 2 that you just have to do. But again, remember, your marketing budget and your time are going to be split. That's why I recommend 1. Now you may think, well, if someone asks, I'm doing family portraits and someone asked me to do a business headshot, are you telling me, Jim, that I shouldn't do that? No, I am not telling you that you shouldn't do that. I'm telling you that your marketing efforts, your time and money should be focused, because you don't have an endless supply of those, money or time. But when you have a client that has come in because of those, and you want to work with them with other things, then maybe you choose to do that. I do that all the time. So yeah, you're going to do that. It's important to do that. You're building relationships over time with those people. So of course you're going to choose to do things that aren't part of what you're marketing to everyone else. I call it spin-off business. But you didn't have to do any marketing, money or time, effort to get them. Just because you have the ability to do it doesn't mean you should be marketing and spending money on it. But if something falls into your lap where you didn't spend any money or time on it, fell into your lap, that's fantastic. You get to choose, do I want to do this or not? And a lot of times you will. And that's fine. Again, you're choosing it though. It's up to you. Same thing with clients. We're going to get to that here in just a moment. But before, I want you to define who you are. I want you to describe yourself in a way that sets you apart from the competition. These are your differentiators. What's different about you? Now, this doesn't mean unique in the world. This means has the potential to be unique in the field of photographers or artists that this potential client is looking at. One easy example is if I was, if there was a client who was looking at me and one other photographer, and let's say that client is a military family, and that other person who they're looking at, the other photographer they're looking at, is a military family too. I'm not. So therefore, they have that unique advantage against me, which is fine. This isn't a negative. You use your advantages all the time. I mean, if you have a coupon for $10 off, you're going to say, "Oh, that's an advantage. I'm not going to use that $10 coupon." Come on. We use advantages all the time. Every once in a while, I come across someone who says, "I feel bad if I use an advantage." What? What? No. This is what humans do. If we have something that we can use, a resource that we can use, we use it. Now, that doesn't mean use it unethically. Of course, I'm not meaning that. But we use those tools. The tools that we have, we use them. The tools that we don't have, maybe we work towards getting them. But we don't have them. Maybe we outsource. But there's ways to use things we don't have. But I want you to describe yourself in a way that sets you apart from the competition. You list 10 things that are unique, generally speaking, about you and your approach to the way you do your work. Because the way you do your work probably is unique. Maybe it's your process. I'll go through quickly what my process is because it could take about 4 or 5 hours just to describe if I do it right. But I'm going to go over it in a very short period of time. So my process starts off, before someone has an opportunity to meet with me. How do they reach out to me? Let's say they haven't come across someone who I've worked with before, and they have come across me just by searching. All right, so first thing that happens is either they are sending an email to me or filling out a web form or their phone call. Those are generally how people reach out to me. So let's say it's a phone call. They call, and what are the questions that someone asks? Well, for portrait photographers, what people ask is how much and are you available on? So let's say that they need, if you're a wedding photographer, the availability is a huge deal, because even if the price is right, if the photographer is not available, kind of ends the conversation. So therefore, someone generally will ask how much. And before I answer that question, I actually have to find out a little bit about what they're looking for. It'd be like going to a grocery store and saying, "How much is a bag of groceries?" I'd be happy to answer your question, but would you mind if I ask you a few questions so I find out what it is you want in your bag? Well, here's the photographer version of that. I'd be happy to discuss our fees, but would you mind if I asked you a few questions about what it is you want so that I can give you a better answer, a direct answer to that question? And of course they say yes. And so I ask them questions about who they are and what they're doing and what they want photographs of and why they want photographs of and why now. Just several different questions to put a picture in my mind. I also want to find out who they are and what's important to them. And if they've got kids, I want to find out a little bit about them. So I just want to hear their story and find out what's going on, what we're trying to accomplish, so that I can give them a ballpark figure so that I can answer their question. But I'm also picking and choosing. Is this a client that I want? Do I want to work with them? Am I the best? Like, my marketing doesn't say I'm the best, but it kind of implies that I really know my stuff. So therefore they may view it that way. And so even if I don't say it, it kind of implies it. And yours does too, because you're not going to try and imply that I'm the worst, unless you're a barbecue place in San Antonio called Rudy's that says worst barbecue in Texas. It's really good. They're being silly, but but you are trying to convey that you're the best at something. So therefore, if you're not, then You find out what it is they're looking for. If you're not that person, you refer someone else, or you say, I'm not the right person for you. Maybe you use different words, but that's effectively what you're saying. So that process goes from there to, I've decided I do want to work with them, and we find a date to plan their session. We plan it in person. I do the planning session at their home, or the place where it's going to be displayed, which generally speaking is their home. Sometimes it's an office, but almost always it's their home, because I work with families. I photograph families as home decor. So I am in their home so I can see where this portrait is going to be displayed on their wall, because seeing the location it's going to be in answers a lot of questions for me. It tells me whether it's going to be horizontal or vertical. It tells me whether it's going to be huge or small. It's by the way, there's no such thing as a large and small image, because a print, because everything is relative to the location it's going to be displayed in. I once had a dad call me, and he thought an 8x10 was the biggest size you could print for photography. I know, crazy, but that's what he believed until our phone call. He no longer believes that. But the size is based on the being appropriate for the space it's going to be displayed in. And so it's that cliche you've heard a million times: begin with the end in mind. So that's why I go to their home, so I can see where it's going to end up. Now, this is not the way all photographers do it, and I don't recommend it for everyone. It's not the right way for everybody to do business, but it's how I do it. So I tell people, this is how I do this. These are the steps that I take, throughout this different process, why I'm doing it, when I'm expecting to get paid. For instance, I don't get paid over the phone. When I'm in person, that's when I get my creation fee. And then when they order their prints at the portrait selection consultation, after the session's been done, that's when I take the payment for the prints, not before that. But we do talk about what it is that they want, and I give them a ballpark figure of how much they can expect to pay. I call it plan on investing. And then once the portrait selection is done, then I go back and do my thing. And then I go with the print that I got done at Finer Works, and I go to their home and I put it up on the wall. I put it on the wall. This is my philosophy. Not everybody shares this, and I don't even recommend it to everyone. It's just a tool. It's a grouping of tools. But to me, the job is done when there's no more work left to be done. If I'm giving my client more work to do, now I focus on families. So therefore, if you're focusing on businesses, they may have staff to do certain things. And so you get it to the point where they need it. That's done. But for me, there is no staff at that family that does installation. There is no staff at that family that does framing. None of that exists in the families that I work with. They don't have that. So therefore, it's up to me. And so I tell them the process. And that is one of the unique things that I can put on this list of describing yourself in a way that sets you apart from the competition. Now, that does mean I'm going to cost a little bit more, but they go into it knowing that. And they seem happy about it. Surprisingly, I didn't expect that when I started doing it this way. All right, now we've defined who it is we're going to be working with. Excuse me, we've defined what it is that we do. Now we're going to tell the world. Now that is a really general way of describing this next section, tell the world. Okay, so now we know what type of photography we want to do. We've got our niche, the things that we want to be known for. We aren't really going to tell the world. We're going to be telling our world, our small world, our microcosm. Now, what's that made up of? The people who we want to do business with, the people who energize us and keep us going. That's who I want to work with. I mean, chances are you've had some retail job sometime in your past. I'm pretty sure that everyone has worked with a client, a customer that wasn't the most energizing personality, at least in a positive way, that you've ever experienced before. You've probably come across some difficult folks every once in a while. You don't have to do that if you have your own business. You pick and choose who you want to work with. I'm choosing people who will help me deliver what I say I have the ability to deliver. I have a thrilled guarantee. Have you guys heard of this? I'm sure some of you have. My thrilled guarantee. I absolutely guarantee that you will be thrilled, not satisfied. Or I'll do whatever it takes to make you thrilled, even if that means doing another photography session. And if I can't make you thrilled, I will give you your money back. I'm letting that sink in for just a moment. If I'm going to give that kind of guarantee, now I know if you're hearing this for the same time, you're thinking, well, maybe Jim, you could do that. You've been doing this a long time. You've got a degree in photography. I expect you to be, stop that. If your client was dissatisfied, are you saying you wouldn't do something about it? You would. You'd do everything in your power to make them happy. So therefore, just make a guarantee around it. That's what I did. Now, I did hear that from another photographer. I didn't come up with that. But it is fantastic, and it helps relieve some of that concern about that they're going to be spending this money, but they don't know what's going on here, or what happens if they don't like it. Don't worry about it. You're not going to lose your money, because if you're not thrilled. By the way, I came across a guy with a cry guarantee. I'm going to make you cry tears of joy, or I'll give you your money back. That one, that's definitely the highest compliment, when someone sees your work and they have tears in their eyes. Oh, I love that. I bet you guys do too. But I don't want to have that kind of a thrilled guarantee is what works for me. I don't need to one up it any further. So I want to work with people who I have the ability to thrill, because that's who I want to work with. I've got time for them. I've got energy for them. They energize me back. This is a win-win situation. I don't want to win-lose. So I only choose those that I find interesting and motivating to me, and I am to them. Now you might say, well, a lot of people don't fit that description. If you do your marketing correctly, that's who calls you. The majority of them, they call you because you have shown this part of you, this side of you. This is what you're looking for. I mean, if you go to a tool store, Home Depot, Lowe's, there's a ton of things on those shelves. And they all look good. But when you go to the store, you're not looking for everything. You're looking for just the things that you need in order to accomplish whatever goal you've got. So let's say you go to the hammer section, but I'm a screwdriver. Are you going to pick me up if you need a hammer? No, because I'm a screwdriver. And it doesn't matter how good a screwdriver I am. If you needed a hammer, you're not taking me off the shelf, because we know exactly what the screwdriver does, and it doesn't help us with the job of a hammer. We have to describe what we do incredibly well. This is the marketing yourself. You have to describe what you do incredibly well so that they know whether you're the right tool to take off the shelf, figuratively, but pretty much the same. That's how clear your marketing message must be. So that's why we have to define what it is that we do very specifically, who it is that we want to do it for, and what it is that we do that causes us to make them feel, to be intrigued that we are the best for what they're trying to accomplish. When we do that, those are the people who call us. When we put out the wide net saying, I am just so passionate about photography. I just love everything about it. I started off with this, or I started off with that, and it was just an eye-opening experience, and now I love this stuff, and I can't wait to share it with the world. Doesn't that sound like a wonderful story? Yeah, but it's vague, because every photographer can say that. There's no differentiation there. If you aren't differentiating yourself, if you aren't doing something, saying something about what you do that's different than others, then you have just put yourself in the crowd. You know how many people have asked me that question? How do I stand out from the crowd? Stop doing what the crowd's doing. It's not that hard, but it's not what we focus on as creatives. We're focusing on the thing that we love doing, the art, the creation, telling people what we do about it. We kind of, we want to share that because we enjoy it and we want more people to enjoy what we enjoy, of course. But we can use a lot of improvement on the marketing side, letting people know what it is that we do, who it is that we want to work with. And we have to define, because now we know the who we want to work with, where are we going to find them? If we're very specific with the who do you want to work with, and I'll give you a quick idea of how to improve that description. Here's a homework assignment. I want you to describe the ideal person. Now, this is probably going to be from your experience, taking pieces of different people that you really like and putting this together in one person. I want you to define one person who is the crazy, most ideal person for you as a client. Describe that person. Clean, clear, but crazy detailed. I mean, multiple pages, not one page, but your page after page of describing who they are, what they do, where do they shop, how do they react when they see you? Everything about this ideal person, write it all out. When you write things out like that, you find gaps, therefore you fill them, and you wind up finding people like that because you define a way. First, you're defining who that is. Then because you know who it is, you're defining a way to cross paths with that person. So here's a question I get often. How do you find clients who want prints? Because all of mine are asking for digital files. Guys, I don't find them. They find me because I do a good job of marketing. I tell people what it is that I do. So therefore, if I tell people I install prints on your wall, framed, ready to go so you can enjoy them and cry tears of joy every time you walk by, if I tell people that, those who are looking for digital files aren't calling me. So therefore, I'm not looking for them. I'm not seeking them. I have a cliche, don't seek the seekers. Don't seek the seekers. So for those photographers who are online, and every once in a while someone will say, I'm looking for a wedding photographer, I'm looking for a family portrait photographer, I'm looking for a high school senior, I'm looking for a boudoir, I'm looking for a child, a baby, a maternity, whatever it is I'm looking for. Is it one or two that respond? Or is it 20, 30, 40? I saw one that had 82 photographers. I counted them. 82. By the way, when I was writing something about this, I have a class called Don't Seek the Seekers. And when I was preparing that class, I went online because every day there's something. And so I went online and the one that I found had 61 photographers that responded. What are the odds that the person who asked for photographers reached out to 61 photographers? What are the odds? I'd say not even possible. After 2, 3, 4, 5, they're probably kind of done. I doubt anyone gets to 10. So you're putting yourself in the crowd and doing zero to stand out from the crowd. Now you're saying, well, okay, that makes sense, but how do I get to the point where I don't have to do that? By the way, how many times has that worked if you've done that? Put yourself in the crowd. How many times does it work? Because unless you're like the first 5, I can't imagine that you're going to get a call. The way you don't do that, you don't have to go through that, is by doing a good job of defining who it is that you are, what it is you do, and who it is you want to work with. And then you share that message with your microcosm, with your world. Now, I do recommend that you set aside money for ad spend, and your ad budget, I believe, should be around 7% of your sales. 7%. This is a general number. When I am visiting with my private clients, we actually go into detail about what it is that they want, what they're trying to accomplish, so we can get a much more a better number. But generally speaking, if I'm having to, when I'm doing this kind of a forum where I can't see exactly what it is that you're doing, I have to be general. I can't be specific with it. When you take one of my private sessions, it's absolutely specific to you and absolutely beneficial to you. But generally speaking, around 7% is what you should set aside for your ad spend. There is free advertising, and yes, you should be taking advantage of that too. But I don't want you to do that to the point where you're wasting time. Time is, not something that's replenishable. Money is. You can spend every dollar that's in your bank account, and then somehow magically more gets in there. At least hopefully. Maybe there's instances where that hasn't happened. Hopefully that hasn't. Once you start telling the world, you need to have a way to collect those contacts, and you do that through a database. And so you see that here next. If you don't have a database, then create one today. This is something that every business owner has to have. You just have to have it. It may start off with family and friends if you're just starting out. Fine. They may not be your right target market, but they may know someone who is. And besides, they generally speaking support you. Generally speaking. Again, if I'm talking to you just one-on-one private, I may realize that's not the case for you and your situation. But for the most part, we have friends and family that are supportive to some degree. By the way, don't take advice for someone who has not experienced what it is you want to experience. For instance, you've got a family member, a friend, who is telling you, well, that's something very few people do. That's a pipe dream. That's, that's not really for you. Or there's too few people that ever reach that. Okay. It's not that they're wrong. And they do love you. They're just expressing it in a way that isn't beneficial to you. I'm not saying don't listen. I'm not saying don't stop them from talking. I'm not saying anything, because you're going to deal with that situation appropriately. I am saying just don't take the advice. Don't use it. If they've not experienced what it is you want to experience, then they have nothing to share with you that's helpful in the direction you're heading. It'd be like asking someone for directions to Timbuktu who's never heard of Timbuktu. By the way, it's in Africa in the middle of nowhere. It's a place. It used to be an important place for education, and now it's not. But that was a long time ago. But database. Now, there's a lot of ways to do that. CRM programs, client relationship management programs, very good. And there's a lot of ones that do a lot more than just collect your database, the context in your database. Something like Honeybook or Pixify or Dubsado or Sprout Studio or Irisworks. There's a bunch of them out there. I definitely recommend those. But if you just want to start off with what you have, just an Excel spreadsheet will do the trick. Assuming you know how to use Excel. What kind of information are you collecting? At the very least, first name, last name, and a way to reach out to them. Cell phone, email address, social media accounts, whatever it is you feel that you need, make sure you collect that information. But I would say don't do it like that unless you're just trying to start today and I need to get going with something. But because you're going to need to collect a lot more information, and you will have a lot more information to collect, because over time you're going to be making sales and you need to collect that information somewhere. And at some point, the Excel spreadsheet becomes kind of a pain to use. And it doesn't have a lot of the things that these CRM programs have. Now let's talk about your website, because this is one way you're going to collect. You're going to cause people to know what it is you do and collect the information from them. So Website. We need to define what it is we need it to do for us. So earlier we have defined who, in what we're talking about today, we've defined who we are. Extremely important to know who you are and where you're headed, what your goal is. Because your art may be a hobby that you don't really try to make any money with, and maybe accidentally you do every once in a while. It could be something that, you know, if I can make a few extra bucks, I'd like to. And so you price accordingly to make that happen. And then there's the part-timers, and then there's the full-timers who this really is their sole income. They make this happen in that way. I'm not saying they're better or worse. I'm just saying that's what they've chosen. So whichever route you're taking, it's still a business. You're still collecting information. You're still wanting those who appreciate what you do to know what it is that you do. And so you're reaching out to them in some way. Could be a weekly newsletter, or just a weekly update, a monthly update. Could be kind of like a blog. You could do a blog. I'm not really going to talk about blogs though, because I don't do that. And I know some who have successfully done it, but that's not what I choose to do. So your website is somewhat simple, but the goal is to intrigue the kind of person you want to work with. So you've defined who you are, you've defined who it is you want to work with, you want to intrigue that person. And by the way, your goal isn't to intrigue all those people. Your goal is to intrigue one type of person, and that's the person that you think most is ideally suited to work with you, your personality, your goals, what it is you need in order to keep your energy level high. You're after that one person. It just so happens that there's a lot of people who will fit that description. So what can I do to intrigue that person? What about my process? Every single step of the process. My process has 31 steps. Now there are some sub steps, but it's got 31 major steps. Every single step of that process, I think, what can I do to intrigue my client? What can I do to make them thrilled with this? I call them shareable experiences or wow experiences. What can I do that's going to cause the person I want to work with to say, wow, that's really cool. I like that. To the point where they actually photograph it, or put it in text on their Facebook page, or put that picture up on an Instagram, whatever it is. I want them to feel like this is a shareable experience. And so I'm trying to think every single step of my process, what can I do? And not every single step is there something I can do, but I go through every step. What can I do to make this a shareable experience? What can I do to one up what I'm doing right now? Not one up the other guy who I don't even know. What can I do to one up me? How can I do something just a little bit better? Maybe a lot. If you pay attention to Grant Cardone, he'll say 10x it. But I'm just asking you to one up yourself. Your website has photographs of what it is that you do, examples of what you do. It also should have testimonials from those who have experienced what it is that you do. Let's talk about photographs as display, as marketing tools. So you've got your photographs. What is one way to show off your work? Through photographs. Putting them up on your website, social media. If you have an office, putting them up in the office. Okay, so putting them on the wall. What's a way to one up that? All right. When you have a client who you've completed the work, you've got their photograph on their wall, you can photograph their wall with your installation on it. That one's up just a pretty picture on a website, because everybody can do that. But not everybody can show their work in its completed stage, because there's a lot of photographers who have never completed their work. By the way, I've crossed paths with several photographers, especially recently, who have just recently printed their work larger than an 8x10, which is the largest of the small size, by the way. Wall portraits begin at 16x20, and that's considered small for a wall portrait, just FYI. But I've crossed paths with quite a few recently. 4 or 5, so I don't mean hundreds, who have told me, I thought I would feel good about having a print made. I didn't realize how it would change me. I want this. I feel like now that I know what I know, there's no way I'm going to go back to not printing my work ever again. It's just not going to happen. The way I feel, the way my clients felt when they see it, this is what it's all about. Not a digital file, because that's what the crowd does. If you want to be part of the crowd, offer digital files, because that's what they do. If you want to stand out from it, one way is to print. Interestingly enough, 20 years ago, everybody printed. All photographers printed. No photographer gave out their negatives. It didn't happen. We all printed. It was the norm. Now it's become different. Wow. But use that to your advantage. It makes you feel good. It makes your client feel good. So I said, having that print up on the wall, photographing it is one-upping just having a pretty picture on your website. Let's one-up that. That family you just photographed, or that mom who has their newborn photograph now on the wall, they are thrilled. Photograph them standing with their photograph on the wall. Get that expression, that facial expression that they have, that they love this. Can you think of how to one up that? Video. Yeah, set up a video camera. It could be your cell phone. Hear their testimony of how it is, how it made them feel. They're looking at it, they're looking into the camera, talking about how this makes them feel. That on a website conveys my message of, I specialize in emotional family portraits as home decor. That's why I get no one calling me who says I want digital files. They all want prints. That's how you do it. You don't seek them out. You have a marketing message that causes them to call you. By the way, there's ways to one up that, but that's enough for now. Social networking, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you're going to do those, and I think you should, but if you're going to do those, have a plan for it, because those can be incredibly time consuming. You can really easily overdo these things. Now, part of the reason you're overdoing it is because it just seems like there's a whole lot of stuff out there. There's a whole lot of people I could reach out to, a lot of people that are going to be interested in what it is I'm doing. I want to get this message out. I get it. You're right. But wow, the amount of time you could be doing social media, social marketing, social network, social media marketing 100% of your time, which, that's what Melissa does, but she does that for a job. So the rest of us, we do it because it's part of the marketing tool that we need. And it's probably a good idea to hire someone who knows this stuff better than you and pay them to do it. Now you may think, I don't have a budget for that kind of thing. None of us start off with a budget for that kind of thing. We move into it slowly. And we get to the point where you have someone who is doing this for you to whatever degree is appropriate, because you have a plan. What do you think about all that stuff, Melissa?
With Geo Galleries artists, I tell them, I have a lot of people who are, I want to say, social network avoidant. It scares them, and I understand, like you're saying, the time that you can spend on there. So sometimes I tell them, go ahead, like on Saturday or whatever the day of the week that you actually have some downtime, take an hour and then come up with at least with 7 images and video or whatever that you want to share through the week, and then just put them all in there. Come up with your marketing message on there, your caption, and then save them there to the side. And just once a day at the same time where you think people are there looking, between noon or 5 o'clock, depending on where you're at, then and put it at the same time every day, and just once a week do that. And you can schedule them and do that, just so you're not having to say your whole time on there. and you don't feel like you're getting totally sucked into it. Like TikTok is probably the new one that you see everybody like, oh my God, what did I do? They get on TikTok and it's like 4 hours later, they've lost time. It's like walking into IKEA. So it does take a lot of time, but if you give yourself a block of time, and I'm sure you find it with anything in life, if you give yourself a block of time that you're going to devote to that, and it's a little easier to say, okay, this is a time I'm doing this, and and dedicate to that, then it helps you kind of stay on I want to say on a schedule, so you're not losing so much time.
Yeah, that makes sense. How have you been able to get that correct balance, or is it something that you're constantly reevaluating?
Something I'm constantly reevaluating. Being an insomniac helps a lot. I've probably talked to customers from Finer Works, from Geo Galleries, late at night, artist hours, I just happen to be up and I'll catch something interesting that they'll put up on there. And I in my brain, I'm saying, I should wait till, 10 to 5. But it's, you can't. Sometimes you really want to respond right then and there. So
Yeah.
being an insomniac helps me. But again, like you said, this is all I do. And James does like all the other stuff. So then that helps me kind of just stay on just social media.
Awesome. Yeah. So, what do you have something that you recommend to artists who are doing it on their own um, to isolate or find the things that work the best, or isolate just one of the social medias, or use a tool like Hootsuite to put in their post once and it goes to the others? Do you have some things that you recommend to these individual artists?
For artists, I've recommended, best social platform for them right now that's working has been Instagram. And then TikTok is starting to become another one on there. It's almost kind of making your own your stream, but everything that you do on social media should always lead back to your website, because the social media platforms you do not own. You don't own your followers on there. So if somebody, and I have artists every day who get hacked and they lose their 23,000 followers.
No.
And they
Wow.
have not put any work into taking those followers and trying to make them over into their newsletter, their email, get that other form of contact, drive them to the website. It should take you back to your website, because ultimately you own your website on the internet, where you don't on social platforms. You're a content creator on there. It's like being on NBC or something. You can come up with a show, but ultimately the network can decide to cut your show. So so finding a way to retain your followers in a newsletter format is the best thing you can do. But Hootsuite is a great tool to use on there. And when you're only having to worry about your 1 or 2, 3 social accounts, you can use the free version of it, and that will work pretty good for you. Once you start breaking into other social accounts, or if you become, I know there's some photographers that maybe say they specialize, they have a website that's like, here I do, fairy, the fairy children kind of portraiture, but then they also kind of do another website that's doing in sports photography or something else. Once you start multiplying yourself as a different entities and you try to get on, then you're going to have to pay a little higher on for those Hootsuite account. Even when you start trying to make other ones, they find a way to make sure that you're not acting as an agency, and that you are one person using that tool. But it is a really good tool for scheduling. And again, if you're doing that, taking that time to make your post for the week, do that. Heck, if you have time to do the whole month, do a whole month, and you can kind of leave it. But it's always good to go with 1 week and just check in so that you're seeing what's coming in, which posts are working for you. I try a lot of things, even for finer works and stuff like that. And the algorithms change all the time. So when we're saying that social media is a lot of work, it is, because there's organic social media that's now kind of, falling to the wayside. You almost are having to pay to play kind of thing on there. So being viral is a really quick flash, in the pan kind of thing. And it doesn't really have that sticking with you to kind of keep you going. Because even when you gained all the followers, the platform may limit how many of those followers see. There's a lot of, it's constantly learning it. It's constantly changing, but keeping it a presence always helps, just because you can be a little more candid. I like your thing when you're saying your videos. I love to use our story videos of our customers. And to me, like the best ones, those emotional ones, are the when people, we call them unbox, when they unbox their prints and
Yeah.
oh my God, people look at this print. I love it. Those are like my favorite ones. And that emotion that they're conveying in that little OMG is so much emotion, and it's something I could never market out there. That's word of mouth testimony is always going to be the best thing you can get.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I do like those unboxing videos, that genuine, real experience that they're having that moment,
Mhm.
and that makes a difference.
Yes.
Yep. Well, the next thing that's on my handout, and then we go back to sharing my screen, is, and you know what, I don't need to share the screen on this one. This just a thank you note. And so I think that you should create thank you notes, custom thank you notes. How often do you get this kind of thing anymore? It used to be a thing. I mean, go back to 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades. I can go back more than 4 decades. But anyway, this was a norm. People writing handwritten notes on the oftentimes custom made note cards, not always, but sometimes they had their name on them, sometimes they were custom embossed, sometimes they're custom artwork on it. It is so easy to order these on the Finerworks website. Just have something on the front of your card, and on the inside you could put something or put nothing, and maybe your address on the back side of it. It has some envelopes with your address on them, and you can just handwrite in their address on it. But you have these beautiful cards that you've created that has your own artwork on it, and you tell someone thank you for whatever it is. There's so many things that we are or should be grateful for that we could acknowledge in that way. And this is just one more way of one-upping. You heard me say earlier, how can I one-up that experience? How can I make this a shareable experience? How can I make this something that causes someone to say, wow? And when I say wow or shareable, this means they are likely to not keep it to themselves. I'm pretty sure you got that from it. But here's an example of it. So that thank you note, I've had people tell me it wound up on their with a magnet on their refrigerator door. I've seen them photograph it and put it on social media. I've there's different ways, but every single thing, every step of your process should have wow experience. Just have everything should have something where you one up it and make it shareable. Now, it doesn't mean everybody's going to, but you have created it so that they have that those who are most likely to will have that thought. By the way, if you start attracting your client, the type of client that you want, they are the ones who do that, because you've targeted that market, just that type of person. You've targeted them. So you're writing your thank you notes after everything. So for me, after the portrait selection, or after the planning session, I've been in their home. I have this card, envelope, and a stamp in my car. I drive to where they can't see me writing it, because that's weird to hang out in your car in their front, in front of their house for a little while. I mean, yeah, for checking your text to see if your wife says pick something up on the way home, you got to do that, because you can get in trouble for not checking that. I understand that one firsthand. But other than that, drive away a little bit where they can't see you, write a quick note because it's now fresh on your mind. In half an hour or an hour, 2 hours, or whenever you get to the point where you can take the time to do this, you're not going to still have it fresh on your mind. Other things will have gotten in the way. Other things will be fresh on your mind. You might even forget to do it altogether. So I'd say write that thank you note and drop it off at the very first mailbox you see. They'll get it the next day. And how will that make them feel? Your goal is to make them feel wonderful at every single stage, every single step of your process. How do you do it? Part of your marketing plan. Now, so that's writing thank you notes. Did you guys have anything you wanted to comment on about printing thank you notes? Or having cards, digital, are they called digital press cards? Am I saying that right?
I was going to see if James had anything to say.
Sorry. Yeah, so we do have cards. We have, and they can be either folded cards or flat cards. But yeah, I guess you call them digital press prints, or they're basically they're not like an inkjet print. But yeah, we use those. We get a lot of people that will include those as they'll order an individual card and they'll add that as like a thank you note. Include that with the order that gets drop shipped. Matter of fact, didn't I write something about that just maybe a week or two ago as a suggestion to our users as a tool that they can use, because it does give the recipient, it adds something a little bit from UPS or in the mail, and encourages them to come back and order again.
Yeah. Good. Very good.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to do something else at the same time.
Of course.
I only halfway heard.
Totally get it.
Yeah.
It's perfect. So yeah, it's just something you can do at multiple different points in time. Of course, you do it at the end when after you've got it up on their wall. If you're going to do alliances, by the way, Frances is on here in her class yesterday. I couldn't think of the word alliance for some reason, so I just said partnerships. Same thing. That when you are connecting with other businesses for alliances, meaning another business that targets the same target market that you're after, but they aren't competitors with you. When you work with another group, then you can have the benefit of a win-win. You could leverage their list, they can leverage yours. And so you can go after the same target market, but of people that you didn't already have. And so something that I like to do with, let me give a specific example because I know that's too general. So let's say, all right, so there was a local magazine. I'm not going to say the name, but I worked with this magazine for years, and they did what they called a family spotlight, but the cover of their magazine was a family portrait. Every single one of their covers was a family. Sometimes it was couples, but still it was families. So, and it was a neighborhood magazine. It was actually a city, a small city. It was a suburb of San Antonio. And they did it for the entire city, and there would just be the household. Now, if the household was only 2 people, a couple, then that's what we photographed. Most of the time it was, a family of 3, a family of 4, a family of 5, maybe even the dog. But we'd photograph them, and that photograph would go on the cover of the magazine, which, talk about marketing, that's pretty good marketing. And some interior images too inside the magazine. But something that we have to do is keep up a really good relationship with the alliance. And so one good way to do that would be take that photograph that that family chose for the cover, or if they chose something different for their own wall. By the way, a lot of them, probably 70%, I think it's 68%, bought a wall portrait in addition to just having the photograph done. They didn't have to buy anything. That was the alliance agreement, was they would send me one family every month to photograph. And I didn't charge anything for the creation fee, only for whatever prints they purchased. And some printed nothing, some ordered nothing, but majority of them did, and it averaged out to be an extra $2,500 a month. So I don't know about you, but an extra $2,500 a month is not a bad thing. So, but that's what it was. Just that I had 2 or 3 different magazines that I worked with, but I'm describing one, and something that is cool to do to keep that relationship strong with the alliance, because the other photographers are going to see this and go, I want that. They're going to go to that person, the publisher, and say, you know, I can do this, and I can do it better than that guy. That guy's a this, that, and the other. I can do it better, and that publisher could very well think, well, you know, I'm a fair kind of guy. I want to give other people a chance. Let's give you a chance. Why not? I don't like it when that happens. But something to make it not happen is make sure that the alliance partner knows that what is going on here is appreciated by the person who's receiving the gift. So what you do in that instance is take that image that they want printed on a single card. Now it could be the folded, or it could be the flat. I like the folded. I prefer the folded. But have them write something to the person who gave it to them. Now I'm taking care of this. So I actually get 4 of them. They get 3 for themselves, and 3 is a gift, and 1 that I am going to put in an envelope, stamp, and put in the mail, because I don't want them to do it. Why would I not want them to do it? Because they never get around to it. So I can take care of it right now. So I've got them in front of them. I say, I've got a gift for you, but I'm going to make you work for it. They're like, what do you mean? And so I hand them these 4 cards, and I say, you get 3 of these 4 cards. I want you to use one right now to thank Joe Smith. That's not his name. To thank Joe Smith for choosing you and making this happen for you. That person deserves it. And so write down, you know, whatever you want. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but write down whatever you want. That, you know, thank you so much for this gift. Thank you. We thoroughly enjoy this photograph. Thank you for thinking of us. Whatever it is, it's important. And then you know, sign the Jones family, and then put it in the envelope. Put the and I've already put everything on it. I've put their last name and or their contact, their information on that top left corner, and I've already put the alliance partner's name and address in where it goes. I've already put a stamp on it. The only thing I'm doing is sticking it in, looking in the envelope, and I take it to the mailbox for them, because I know they won't get around to it. They have good intentions, but it's so not high on their priority list. Mm-hmm. So I take care of it for them. And that will cause you to never lose that relationship. And you're never going to lose it when you do things like that. And there's a bunch of others. Mm-hmm. By the way, that kind of relationship can be done with real estate agents, because people are buying new homes. That can be done with car dealerships. There's a ton. Restaurants, like I said, there's a ton. I have a class that's on alliances and how to build those, what to say, what to do, and you know those. By the way, if you guys want a private session, I give a 30-minute, one per year, 30-minute private session to anyone who asks. Now, it does need to be on that portrait side, because that's where I am the best. My personal best is marketing and sales and planning for low volume portrait photographers. Low volume meaning extreme max 5 in a week, but usually like 1 a week, and sometimes fewer than that, even in a month, or maybe that in a month. Can't have fewer than 1. But so low volume portrait photographers is who I specialize in, and so I have that 30-minute session for them. That grouping of people for free. I do one every single year for anyone who asks for it. In fact, let me Let me put that in the chat real quick. Let's see how quickly I can do that.
And you dedicate a lot of time to helping other people learn stuff, and so appreciate. I mean, I know you do that. Take a photographer to lunch, and you also have the photo essay. So many things that you do just to kind of share the information.
Yeah, it's fun stuff to do. I like taking a photographer to lunch. Get to find out a little bit who they are and what they do, and kind of in a relaxed environment. And money's not an issue for them, because they're not having to pay for it. Because every once in a while, someone would tell me before I started doing the free stuff. Someone would say, "Well, I'd like to do that, but I don't have any money. I don't have any budget for it, and I don't want money to be the reason why you can't grow." Because there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of resources. There's YouTube videos. There's tons of them. This one is a YouTube video right now, just recorded live, and it could be watched later. So there's tons of free information out there. There's tons of paid information. And does that mean the paid information is better than the free? It doesn't mean that specifically, but specifically it sure can be, and in most cases is. But that doesn't matter. It just means it can be more specialized when it's paid, because someone can dedicate their time to your specific situation. And so when I do my private coaching, I'll spend 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours with someone, and it's solely about them and their situation. It's not generalized like the things that a lot of the things that I do for free have to be somewhat generalized. So that's another reason why I do the thing that I just put the link up for. It's a Calendly link. It's a link directly to my calendar, and you just choose a time that works for you, and then we meet via Zoom, kind of like I'm doing this right now. No.
We have it shared on the YouTube chat as well.
Thank you. So that's available to anyone who asks for it. Frances took advantage of that yesterday. She was here with us, and her session went a little bit longer than 30 minutes, didn't it, Frances?
It did, but it was helpful.
Thank you. And so, man, there's so many good things out there. Marketing is huge, but it's also really exciting. It's intimidating too. It is, because there's a lot of variables, a lot of things. You keep learning more stuff, and you're like, I don't have time to implement the stuff that I've got. How am I going to put all that other stuff in? That's why we have to define who we are, who we want to work with, and our process. Because when we have defined what our process is, then we're only pulling things off the shelf that help us with our process. And the things that don't help us accomplish the things we want to accomplish, we automatically know, K-N-O-W, that they're a N-O. They're a no. You don't do them. If it doesn't help you get from your point A to your point B, then no matter how exciting or cool it is, you're not doing it. Not for your business. Maybe if it's for some other purpose, some entertainment or something, that's a different story. But your goal is to get from wherever you are, so you have to define where you are, to wherever you're going, so you have to define where you're going. I think it's kind of interesting how some will put more effort into a planning of a road trip than they will into the planning of their business. Which one's more important? And yet they know to plan point A and point B. They know to plan all the pieces in between. They know to think about the gas. But you know how many photographers get on the road from point A to point B without enough gas to get to point B? Almost all. And it's not based solely on money, because most of us start off with not enough. It's based on not having a full organized plan. Now, you may think, well, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. You don't know anything when you're starting off, really. I mean, when you look back at yourself 10 years ago, how does that compare with yourself today if you've continued to grow during that 10 years? You know a lot more, because you've continued to grow during that time. So you can't know what you don't know. That's why there's a word for it. It's called ignorance. Too many people use the word ignorance in a stupid way. They use it to say dumb or stupid. That's dumb. We need the word ignorant. It means the things we don't know yet. It has nothing to do with intelligence level. It's just the things we don't know yet. There's a ton of things we don't know yet. And the only way we can have those things is by having an open mind. If we've got our blinders on, It's like we are aggressively ignorant. We just don't want to know. And there's some things you don't want to know. I get it. But when it comes to growing your business, getting from point A to point B, reaching whatever success means to you. By the way, I define success as anything that you've accomplished. Even your daily task list, every single thing that's on there, and you check it off, success. Every one of those. So you experience, in my opinion, we experience success daily. Well, assuming we check something off the list. Maybe there are some days that we don't check anything off the list, but maybe we have really good reasons for that. And we need some days where there's no list, just be. But when we're working for our business, when we're trying to grow, we need that list. We need the things that are going to help us get from where we are to where we're going. So we plan that. And if you don't know how to plan that, no problem, because that's what I do full time. I help photographers plan how to get from point A to point B. That's what I do. Reach out to me. Take advantage of that link that we just put up on the put up here just a moment ago.
Tim, do you think part of it is imposter syndrome with
It
creatives
is.
going into like a feeling like I don't feel like a business person, so then they end up, not giving attention to marketing, budgeting,
That's a
and
good question. Yeah. Um, we all are in different stages, levels, and the imposter syndrome fits in with the things we don't know yet. So that's the ignorance. You're aware of your ignorance. Now, this area of knowledge, and then there's an area of knowledge, meaning I know what this is and I can do this, and I have a certain level of comfort doing it. And then there's the things that are outside of that. I'm aware of those things. I've only done it once, or I've never done it. But I feel uncomfortable doing it, or it's not something that I would do. And then there's those things that are well beyond that we don't even know exist. But that imposter syndrome is coming in where the things that we're uncomfortable with, the things that we think, well, that guy who's competing against me is better at that, and they're getting more attention than me. And so you're comparing yourself against someone else. You need to compare yourself against you. It doesn't mean don't look at those other people who are doing things you want to do. You can glean information from that, but don't compare yourself with them. That causes more problems for you. I am not where that person is today, and they're younger than me, and they're, they are. Let's say you're a dad, and mom takes care of the kids and everything's good. You don't have a whole lot of responsibilities there. And there's a mom who's a single mom who has 2 or 3 kids, and she's younger than you, and she's doing a whole lot better than you. Don't compare yourself against that. It's a totally different situation. You can learn some things because she's probably doing some stuff that you can glean, you can use, but comparing yourself is not a benefit to you or anyone. And so this imposter syndrome is real, but it is self-caused. We cause this problem to ourselves. It's not beneficial to us. And the only way to get past it is by having your plan so clear that you know what your next step is supposed to be. You know what your prices are, because those prices cause you to reach the next step that you have. If you are unclear about your prices, you've got a problem. But it is one that is easily fixed, because it's math. 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't equal 3. We get that, but we don't see where prices fall in. It's math, guys. If you're not sure about your prices, well, then reach out to me and I'll help you become sure, because it is just math. But it's in that area of ignorance. You don't know what you don't know yet. I can help you with that. That's what I do. It's what I love doing. It's exciting for me. It's kind of like the unboxing videos. I get to unbox something for someone they didn't realize that they didn't have, or maybe they realized to some degree they didn't have it, but they didn't feel it yet. Not the experience of having it, something that's real, something. When it comes to prices, photographers have prices too low, and a lot of times they cave even on that. And once they do get the prices that are real, they may not know, or most beneficial to them, they may not know why they have those prices, and they cave. You have to know the why. Otherwise, you've got no foundation to feel confident from.
And that's with the artist as well.
Yeah. That was a long answer to your question. Sorry about that.
That's
I get
perfect.
excited about some things.
Hey, that passion is what keeps everything going and driven. And so interesting. And I like what you're saying, basically not compare yourself. I mean, kind of look at these as possible mentors,
Yes, absolutely.
living vision boards, competitors. Because like you said, then when you start kind of getting in that mindset, it's a little bit better. And that's a lot of, I think, kind of overcoming that imposter syndrome is mindset.
And we all have it.
Mhm.
I mean, I may come across as confident, but I'm a high functioning introvert.
Never would know it.
But I get nervous when I speak. My hands are sometimes cold. They're not cold right now because the heater is on and it feels really hot. But in fact, I think I'm going to turn my fan on over here. But and my back will start to sweat. I'll start wondering, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? And then I just move into it, and the passion starts being the power source. It moves you through it, and then before you know it, you're looking at the time thinking, wow, how did we get through that much? So what, the time's almost, yeah. So it just happens. So I have that too. I have self-doubt just as strong as anyone, but I don't know that anyone can see that in me, because I think the method that I use to reduce its power causes it not to be visible to others. So I don't know that people would see that in me. Maybe at first, of course, they did, but I don't know that they really would see that today. If I'm in a group of photographers and someone needs to speak, oftentimes they'll ask me to do that speaking, and I enjoy doing that, but I do get very nervous about it. It's my insides are kind of feeling messed up. I don't feel like I'm going to be nauseous usually, or I don't. It doesn't go to that extent. It's different. Everything is like tight. My back feels like it's a waterfall. So I wear an undershirt to make sure that never let them see you sweat. Who said that?
Great marketing campaign. Yeah, I mean, like I said, these are always really informative. And like from this one, I think some of the great takeaways were like identifying, what makes you special. And why you may have a variety of fields of that you want to do, like in photography or even in art, whether it be somebody who's shooting portraits, but they're also shooting sports, and identifying yourself. And then what I liked with one of the things you had said today was that for you in your marketing, you include prints, that they're going to get prints in, and you're creating the buyer that you want. And I thought
Exactly.
that was a really, really brilliant takeaway that people can do. And the database, like I said, even from social media, from whatever, make yourself that database, your collectors, get them into a database that you know how to get them. And then the website, that's a must. So those are some really great tips there, Jim, and we always appreciate you doing these for us.
Of course.
Do you have anything else you want to cover before we?
Well, I'll think of something as soon as we get off, but I don't have anything right now.
How about what do you have coming up for photo essay?
Well, that's a good question. My speaker had to postpone, and I need to find another speaker. So it'll still happen. No matter what, I'll find somebody who has something interesting to share. But it's the second Thursday of every single month at 6:30, and it will be via Zoom. We actually were thinking about having this one in person, but this will be via Zoom. But we probably will be doing some in-person ones here pretty soon. Of course, the annual San Antonio Photography Tournament is in October, and that is most likely going to be at a college here in San Antonio. So that hasn't been finalized. Nothing's been signed yet. So that's why I'm not saying where, but that's where we're looking at doing it so that it's in person. But I definitely encourage you guys to take advantage of my 30-minute private session. Hopefully you have that link. You can go back up into the feed if you need to, but that link should be there. Take advantage of that.
And it's also there, if you're watching on YouTube, just look in that live chat. Those links are there, as well as the link to the presentation Jim had on here. And our next Photo Tips Monthly is Thursday, March 3rd. And we were talking about, do you want to go ahead and confirm that topic of pricing for your mini session?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about, some, Melissa and I were talking a little while ago, and she thought about doing this one, and then, asked me if I thought that'd be a good idea. And her thought was, that the next one's in March, and March is spring. Things are, more and more happening outside, and so maybe that's a good time for creatives, especially photographers, to do mini sessions. And so, what are the thoughts behind that? How do we price those kind of things? What's the philosophy? What are we trying to accomplish here? Why do we do this? Why would we not do it? In what instances? Just that philosophy in the steps. What are you thinking about? What causes this to happen? What things you're going to need? How to price those kind of things. We'll cover those. Now, again, it's only an hour and a half that we cover these, so it won't cover everything, and you can take advantage of me and what I do if you want more. But this will give you a good, solid overview, and definitely something to work from.
Great. I think, James, we just have one question that Francis was asking if Finer Works has photo albums, and I was going to see if you had any takes on those coming to Finer Works.
Not yet. I don't really even have a projected date as to or time frame as to when, but it's something we've been wanting to offer. I don't want to do what everyone else is doing, and that's been a problem, because finding the resources needed to do really what I would call high-end albums or portfolio books. You see these cheap ones that you can order off of, I think you can even order them through your iPhone, and they go through Apple, and they're these 12 by 12 or these 8 by 10s that they they're basically what everyone else is doing. I want something a little bit more special. So because of that, we could offer what everyone else is offering. There's really no sense in it no sense in offering albums or portfolio books until we can offer something a little bit special and unique.
So when we do have something out there, Francis, you just come to our website or sign up for our newsletter. We will let you know when we have those new products come to us. We also want to remind everybody that Finer Works does have a 30% off dye bond metal prints sale going on through Saturday till midnight that night. And if you haven't had a chance to kind of learn about dye bond, just go to our website, go under printing, and you'll see the dye bonds there, and click on it and you'll get some information. I really love the dye bond. Again, I went with that with a 40 by 46 print on there. So I go big if I'm going to do something, and I really love the dye bond for black and white old photography that I had, wanted to get printed up large. So take advantage of that, especially when you see these sales. It's great to always try new media when you see the sales here, and you can go decent size to really evaluate it for your own needs. With that, does anybody else have, James or Jim, anything else before we kind of wind this down?
No, this Francis. I just want to say that's exactly, James, what I was looking for. As far as photo albums, there's this kind of unique photo album I've somewhat seen, but not a lot of places really have them.
Mhm.
And so I was kind of wondering, because I was trying to get it, but one of the labs, their business closed down, so they're not offering it anymore. So
Yeah.
they can't do it for me. So I was like, well, they're really nice and cool, like this acrylic glass covering
Mhm.
that I really liked, and I seen it, and another photographer had it that I did a workshop with, and it was like beautiful, very high end. But I was looking like locally because she got hers through a lab in Canada.
Sure, sure. Are you local? Are you here in San Antonio?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. If you want to, I mean, we're a joint sponsor uh, of Photo SA, and um, uh, Jim can probably text you the local lab that you might want to talk to, if you want to, or maybe then talk to Amanda there. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I already did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she said that the lab that they used closed down, so they
Oh,
can't do those
okay.
anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's the thing, is a lot of the labs, they outsource, and we prefer not to outsource when we don't have to. Matter of fact, 99% of what we do is all done in-house. And that's one of the problems with albums and portfolio books and so forth. You have to have bookbinding equipment, and it's a very expensive undertaking. And also what we've been seeing is that there are companies that, and this is probably too much information for some people, but there are companies out there which that's all they do, is they specialize in providing photo books, albums, that sort of thing, for other printing companies. They call them trade printers. We're actually a trade printer, but these trade printers, they basically just work with other printing companies, and they only provide services to other printing companies. And some of them have gone out of business, or have struggled to get the inventory in past year or so. And that whole industry has been shaken up quite a bit, especially with COVID putting such a damper on the wedding industry, which so many of those businesses were reliant on. And so it definitely made some changes. So I don't know what we're going to do yet. We are talking with one of our primary paper manufacturer, trying to get some leads on these, what we were initially going to call portfolio books, but with a real nice cover and so forth. Matter of fact, I don't have it. I had a prototype here, but we're still not there yet. Yeah.
Hopefully we can find something. And
Yeah, I wish I had better information for you, Francis, but hopefully, something will come up this year, relatively soon.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thanks for answering.
thanks for participating. I think we had one thing just from Sabrina, who just wanted to thank y'all for doing this, Jim, as well. And if y'all want to follow Sabrina on Instagram, she's at sabrina.venturi, VENTURI.art. And so she hasn't posted enough photos yet, but she's trying to use Instagram and stuff also. So give her a follow, help her get her following going there, so she can keep using her Instagram for marketing.
You just got me as a follower.
No,
I just clicked on her.
Yeah, so there we go. Well, great. So there's some of that there. If anybody has questions, or you watch this on the replay, just put your questions in the comment and we will pass those over to Jim. And you can always get on that Calendly link and get one-on-one time with him as well. All right, Jim, thanks again for doing this. James, thank you too for sitting in and doing this. At least the sun came out and we can get home probably safely.
Yeah, it did come out, yes,
Yeah.
barely, but it's gonna be dark soon now.
That's true.
Yeah.
We'll
That's
see
true.
you, next month, Jim. Thank you so much for doing these. You're
Of
so,
course.
you have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All
Bye,
right.
James. Bye, Melissa.
Bye.
Bye, Francis. Bye, Sabrina. Thank you guys for being here for the Photo Tips Monthly.